Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. Today I'm working with Flair from the Flair for Buttons, and I'm actually also working with Shimmer's paint, and I am also working with some items from Color Cast Designs. If you do end up buying some Shimmer's paints, there's info there about if you just use my name, you will end up getting a little freebie in your next order. So I'm using this photo of my daughter back from Halloween where she was dressed up as Michael Jackson, smooth criminal Michael Jackson to be specific, and she is obsessed with him. And I loved the blue in the photo, so I'm going for a white like her suit and blue layout. So what I'm doing is I created this cut file just in the Silhouette Studio software. And it's just a bunch of stars that are connected in some places. And I decided that I'm going to back with various pattern papers. Actually, I think they're all from a couple of 6x6 paper pads. And I'm going to use various shades of blue. And I do end up backing them all, but I don't make you watch me back them all. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just drawing around the outside of the cut file and then cutting it out a little bit smaller than that and then gluing it down just like that. I think there's a couple pieces that I have to trim off sometimes when I do that because I err on the side of a little too big just in case. And then I can always cut off a little bit and I don't want to have to waste paper that way. So anyway, so I'm using items from, I think it's all from 6x6 pads from either Amy Tangerine or Chamel. Now, for my background, I want to do a little bit of mixed media behind this cut file. So I'm adding some clear gesso to the background. It just makes it buckle a little bit more, a little bit less, the paper. It also has a little bit of a texture to it, and it helps me be able to move the paint a little bit more on the page as I go. So I'm getting it fairly dry with my heat tool here. It's not completely dry, but it's almost completely dry. And then I'm going to get out my Shimmer's paints. I'm working with some Vibez today. I'm working with Frostbite, which I think is one of the newer Vibez, and then Snowway Man and Cold as Ice. All three are Vibez, all three I'm going to use both spray right on the page and then also use as kind of like that right there to go ahead and just splatter on the page. So what I am doing there is I'm adding a little bit of water. So I want that splatter to kind of run a little bit more. So then I came in with my packaging. Sometimes I just go straight onto the packaging. I didn't want to use too much paint. I ended up using a lot more than I initially thought I was going to use, but so I wanted it to spread out, but I wanted to have a little bit more control. So I put it on the paper first, and then I'm doing a little bit of packaging technique over the top, just a little bit modified. Adding some water to help it run a little bit more, which is why I put that gesso on, because I knew that I was going to be doing that. Also, I wanted to be able to move the paint around a little bit. So I'm just kind of going back and forth between the three different colors. I feel like the Cold as Ice is the one that I just spritzed right there, the lighter one. Or no. That's the Snowway Man. Snowway Man is the lighter one. And then the Frostbite and Cold as Ice are a little bit darker. And they almost perfectly match her shirt in the photo. So as you can see, I'm doing a little bit of spritz where I want a little bit more paint. And then I'm adding some water to that, helping it move around a little bit. I don't know that this is any sort of technique, anything official. It's just the way I'm getting it to move around the page. More splatters, more smooshing, more water until I get what I want. And so part of the reason that I'm working kind of fast, although I do have this sped up, is because I'm wanting to apply more paint while it's still wet. this point, I'm not working on layers necessarily. I am just wanting to get the basic design of the layout, or the background of the layout done, that design part. And then I can go back in and add some different layers if I want. I went ahead and put the cut file over the top just to kind of see if I needed, if it was all going to be cut up or covered up. And I realized I need a little bit more work in that one area where I pointed, and then I just focused my attention there for a moment. And that really is where the photo is going to go to. So I think I end up coming back and adding a little bit more a little bit later. All right, so I feel like I have most of the background complete here, and then I'm going to go off camera here and let it dry. I'm going to let it get pretty dry. In fact, I can't remember if I even come back the same day or if it's the next day. I will add some more to this background. I will add some more splatters. I will add kind of another layer, not complete layer, but a little bit in places, because I really like how it varies the color and makes it look more like watercolor. So off camera, you saw a little blob of purple there. I put some really cheap craft foam that has adhesive on one side underneath all of those stars. I wanted to give those stars a little bit more dimension, and so I went ahead and made them stand up a little bit with the foam. So what I'm doing here now is I'm adding all of my little embellishments. I have 3 pieces of flair. I end up changing out a little bit where they are and what they are. And then I have some stars that just happen to be the absolute perfect color of blue, and I added those. Those are from some older, I can't remember which release they're from, but they're from Color Cast Designs, and I'm also on that design team. So I'm kind of combining 3 design teams on this layout, mostly because they're 3 of my favorite things, to be honest, and they just work really well together. The other thing that you see there is the word love, and that is actually from the January 2018 Color Cast Designs release. So it's from the Into You set. So if you want to look on the site, last I looked, when I made this, and then shortly after I made this layout, it was still there. So what you saw me do is cut off a little bit of my white cardstock, and I'm adding quite a bit of adhesive. And instead of just adding a little bit of pattern paper in the background, I'm going ahead and adding the whole piece, even though I just am going to have it sneak out on that one right side there. I'm doing that because the paper has buckled quite a bit, and not horrible, but it has, and I want it to be flatter. So actually what I end up doing is I'm cutting off some excess here around the outside. That's what I'm doing there. But as soon as I get this glued down, I'm going to put things on top of it and let it dry so that it will be a little flatter, even more so. And the glue will stick. The glue has any type of adhesive that I use, really. Even the strongest adhesive has a hard time when you've used gesso, especially the clear gesso, because it has such a texture to it. It has a hard time sticking. So I always put heavy things on top and leave it overnight or for an hour or 2. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I just added some thread throughout just some tangled blue thread, and then behind some of the stars, and then glued them down, and now I'm back. It's sat for a while, and I'm going to go ahead and finish out the layout here. All right, so more thread behind my photo. I wanted a little bit of thread behind the word love to help it stand out a little bit more. You'll be able to see that, I know, in the close-up. And then I'm going to put some behind the areas that my flair buttons are. I ended up using 3 pieces of flair from the same flair set. That's not what I originally started with, but I ended up coming back and looking and finding that there were 3 in this set that I really, really liked, and they go so well together. It's the Phrases 1 set, in the Fair for Buttons shop on Etsy. And the they have, you can't see it so really very well. I'm a little frustrated with my tangled thread here. You can't see it very well, maybe so much in the video, but you'll be able to see it in the close-ups. Um, they're blue and black, and they have like messy circles, I guess is what I'm going to say, around the outside, towards the edges of the flare. And that messy circle combined with kind of the whole idea of this layout, Halloween costume, even though this really isn't about Halloween, it's more about her love of Michael. But kind of that music scene sort of thing, that seems messy to me. And the messiness of what I've created here, with all the paint and so on. So I really liked the way I felt like they just matched the mood of the layout besides the topic as well. So one of them says, I think, so rad or something like that, and awesome, and oh, I can't remember what the other one says, and I can't see it very well. But they are so rad and so awesome. My favorite flair shop. I've been buying flair from Shelly, oh my goodness, pretty much since she opened her shop. So for quite a few years, I've been purchasing flair from her. In fact, pretty much if I purchase flair, unless it comes within some sort of collection, it's all from her. She even does custom flair, so, and I've had her do that for me, with my word of the year on them, or different things for Project Life. Anyway, she's wonderful. So, so I was pretty excited to get to be on her design team last summer, when I started, and I hope to be on it forever and ever because I really love using her flair and promoting her flair. So, all right, so I've got everything glued down, and now this is from Pretty Little Studio, I think, and they came in, I think, a Kit Club. In there, it's a fall set, but the blue is perfect, and it did have some phrases in there that didn't have anything to do with fall, and so I grabbed, I think, 3 different phrases, and then you can see there I have my Tim Holtz phrases out too, and I end up putting some of those on there. And one of the reasons I like to pull the phrases because then it's kind of like giving an idea of what it's about without having to journal. And I do like to journal. In fact, really, these are all about the story for me, but sometimes it just doesn't fit with the design, and so I write it on the back, or I feel like the picture really says a lot. So by adding a few little phrases, it gives an idea of really how I'm feeling, or what I'm thinking, or what's going on, or what, sometimes it's a message to her, like what I want her to be, like always be herself, or be awesome, be you, kind of things. And so I picked phrases that match that thought when I made this one. I'm trying to see here. I think the phrases say, just perfect, attitude is everything, be fearless, be you, bravely, own your dreams, one of a kind, be original, and I heart this. And I thought those just really went with the layout really well. And then I think, with the exception of maybe putting on the date, I'm pretty much done with this layout. It was pretty simple once I had my idea, and the background took a little bit of time. But other than that, once I had the basic idea and found the pattern papers, it was pretty easy. I toyed with the idea of putting MJ Love or Michael Jackson Love on it, but I just decided it was pretty much the way that I wanted it to be, and I was done. With one exception. I do end up coming, and I cannot remember if I do this on camera or if I ended up coming back to it. I came back to it later, and I was like, it needs more black and white. I'm like, I have those black flair and it needs more black and white. And so, oh, always you have to put a few extra little splatters at the end, right? So I feel like I'm done, but I know I come back and I put in another strip of pattern paper, and I can't remember if I do that on camera or not. That is a black, or it's white basically with a black diagonal kind of stripe, I think, on it. I can't remember. I think it's from Amy Tangerine Hustle and Heart. I think both of the strips of paper from that collection. Okay, yeah, here it is. This is the last little strip here. I must have filmed it. I couldn't remember if I did it or not. So I'm just gonna add that little stripe. And look at the difference that that makes. I can't believe the difference that that makes, just adding that one little strip on there of striped pattern paper. And now I'm done. Here come the close-ups. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video.